Today we will have an adventurous story of escaping from pursuers. We will discover the Bible of the executed king. We will find out what games were created here, and I will show you the longest ladder I have ever seen. The house was built in 1612 for the wealthy lawyer and wool merchant Walter Jones and replaced a previous house that Jones had purchased in 1602 from Robert Catesby, who just a few years later became infamous for being one of the organizers of the gunpowder plot, and whom I mentioned in our previous video about Chastleton Court. Until 1991, when the National Trust took over the house, it was owned by the same family, and one of the conditions of the takeover was that the house would remain as the family had left it, that it would not be restored, but would only be kept in a state of controlled decay, and that as much of the house as possible would remain accessible to visitors. And as you will see in the video, we will really walk through the house from the roof to the cellars. Chastleton doesn't have a grand entrance gate. This modest entrance takes you into a small hallway that leads directly into this entrance hall, which at first glance shows signs of decay. It's obvious that this space was recently used as, let's say, a living room. Well, let's talk. In how many listed historic houses is it common to heat in the fireplace? The smell of burning oak wood permeated the entire house and gave the tour a truly special, pleasantly homely atmosphere. In 1919, a collection of rare tapestries was discovered by pure chance in a hidden room in the house. They are now displayed in various places in the house, and one of them can be found in this small dining room. However, the rarest ones can be seen in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. As I said, the tour is really extensive and there are a lot of stairs to climb. Who knows what this house looked like in its heyday, because it is obvious that the last owner of the house, Barbara Clutton Brooke, who inherited the house in 1955 from her aunt, after the death of her husband Alan in 1976, was unable to raise enough money to maintain and operate the house, even at the cost of selling off the parts of property, and so the house fell into considerable disrepair. However, what is left here still shows how magnificent a mansion it must have once been and how wealthy its owner was. And judging by this magnificent salon, he was definitely rich. Such hand-carved paneling with biblical motifs must have been extremely expensive, and this room must have made a great impression on visitors to the house. By the way, if some of the rooms look familiar, it's probably because you've seen them in the Wolf Hall series, where the interiors of Chastleton represent Wolf Hall, the home of the Seymour family. This room has an interesting story from the Civil War. The then owner of the castle, Arthur Jones, was an officer in the Royalist Army and was fleeing home after the defeat at the Battle of Worcester with a group of parliamentarian soldiers behind him. He managed to gain a small lead and quickly hid in a secret room just behind this door. When his pursuers arrived, they searched the house but could not find him anywhere. But they did not intend to leave, because his hunted horse was still standing in the courtyard. At that moment, his wife Sarah intervened, offering the tired soldiers a mug of ale, to which she had added laudanum. This allowed her husband to escape to France, from where he was able to return home after some time. Perhaps the most valuable and important relic in the house, which can be found in the library just a few steps away, is the so-called Jaxon Bible, which allegedly belonged to King Charles I. He gave the Bible to his confessor, the Archbishop of London, William Jaxon, just before his execution. Another staircase then takes us to the top floor, where this so-called long gallery with an unusual barrel vault is located. It is one of the few surviving rooms of this type and, at 22 meters long, the second longest barrel vault gallery in England. The gallery is said to have not been used for a long time, and the vault was in a rather deplorable state before it was repaired in 1904. In fact, even though the gallery is on the third floor, it gives the impression of being in a cellar. More stairs await us, this time fortunately downwards, and they will lead us to the utility part of the building. Unfortunately, even here we cannot help but notice obvious signs of decay and poor maintenance in the previous century. The kitchen has remained relatively unchanged for centuries, except for a Victorian cooker built into the original fireplace. When the National Trust took over the house, the residents were using a modern kitchen one floor above, and this room was piled up to the door with all sorts of junk. When they started clearing it out, they were surprised to find a very well-preserved Renaissance kitchen. From the kitchen, we then go through this enclosed courtyard into the cellars. One feels a bit like being at the bottom of an abyss. Actually, it's not really a cellar, we're still on the ground floor. But these spaces definitely once functioned as a cellar and storage space. Well, it seemed a bit gloomy and cramped here, and maybe even haunted. These strange pillars raise a lot of questions. They were most likely added later to help the damaged structural integrity of the house. And here is the promised super long ladder. I estimate its length to be around 25 to 30 meters, and it probably reached all the way to the roof. It must have taken a lot of courage to climb this thing. Chastleton is in many ways different from the manor houses of its era. It never had a large park with a long driveway, as it stood on the edge of the village of the same name. There is only a relatively small, but truly beautiful garden. For the same reason, you will not find large service facilities here, such as a laundry or a bakery, as all these services were provided by the nearby village. And now we finally get to the promised games that were born here. It was here in 1866 that Walter Jones Whitmore invented and wrote down the first rules for a game called croquet, which quickly became a popular pastime in English high society in the 19th century. Another interesting resident of the house was Mary Whitmore Jones, a successful writer, author of several types of single-player card games called Patience, which we know today as Solitaire, and inventor of the Chastleton Patience board, a wooden box that allowed these games to be played on long journeys in a carriage. Due to the absence of larger outbuildings, you will not find the usual restaurant or souvenir shop here. However, during my visit, the nice ladies in the church next door offered coffee, tea, and cakes. If you don't mind drinking coffee among the graves, you will be welcome. The car park is about half a kilometer away and is on a fairly steep hill, so be sure to leave some energy for the return trip. And if you liked the video, we would be happy if you give it a like and watch other videos from our channel. Have a great time and see you on the next episode of our journey through England.